Let's bring in Brian White. He's Global Head of Software and Internet Research at Monness, Crespi, and Hardt. And he has a buy on Apple, 260 price target, also covers Meta, Amazon, Alphabet, which, of course, reported last week. Brian, I don't know, which one are you most excited about or at least have the most questions about heading into this week of those big four?
Yeah, I mean, we're heading into the big tech octagon this week. I think it's really going to be a mixed bag. I think, it's going to frustrate both the bulls and the bears. The one that the company that's clearly the most in the crosshairs of the trade war is Apple, with 85% of manufacturing in China. They're going to have to raise prices. There's other areas, there's other ways that they can get around this by shifting production to India. But in the end, prices are going up for Apple, no doubt.
Yeah, they have been or in the process of moving some manufacturing to India. But to your point, there's also questions about their efforts in AI, which so far don't seem to really have excited consumers. So going in, let's focus on Apple. What are your expectations? Has the stock already corrected for some of the fears that are out there?
When I look at the group's down about 20% from its peak. These three big tech companies. In the last downturn, 2022, the tech wreck, these stocks were down over 50 at their trough. And, at this time it was down over 30 at the trough. Now they're down 20. But Apple's still not cheap. So I think all these companies, you're going to get through the week. The quarters will be fine. The outlook, some companies will give them, some companies won't. But I think, the narrative around the quarters will be the most important. But just remember, we're so early in this, right? This is, what I see happening here, unless we make a complete U-turn on this trade war, this is the summer of discontent for American consumers. And this is going to play out over time. So this isn't the end game, right? We still have a long ways to go. So these quarters are great. You can do okay. Your stock might go up a little, might go down, but it's still early in this process.
Brian, how are you perceiving any difference in the way clients are thinking about this group? I mean, there have been times in the past when they've provided good defense when there's a lot of macro uncertainty. People just say these are great free cash flow machines. Maybe that's changed a little bit. Obviously, you've gotten permission to not overweight this group because they have underperformed now. But also, the free cash flow story in a lot of these companies isn't as compelling given all the CapEx. Yeah,
massive CapEx on AI. I think one of the things that I noticed when things get a little frothy, so we had the AI hype, we had a frothy market, now we have a weakened economy and a trade war. And what I've noticed, usually at peaks, a lot of international investors come into the U.S. markets. And I think that gave it the last big surge in all these big tech companies. That's going away. There are some international investors, they don't want as much exposure or very much exposure to the U.S., and so they come out of these names. But to your point, long term, these companies are going to be around. They may not meet the definition of monopolies except for Alphabet, but they are monopolies. They generate monopoly profits. They have huge balance sheets. They rival governments around the world. They're not going anywhere unless they're broken up.
Well, on that very question, I was going to ask about Meta because, this trial is ongoing against the FTC. They want to break it up. They're going after WhatsApp and Instagram. I'm curious what the market is pricing in and expectations are around that ahead of earnings this week, where the stock is, 24% off the highs?
Yeah, so when I look at Meta and antitrust, I don't see it going anywhere. Going after WhatsApp and the Instagram acquisitions, these things were done, 2012, 2016, ridiculous. There's nothing they can do about it. Meta does not have a monopoly in social media, unlike, Alphabet in search. So there's nothing they can do. To reverse an acquisition over a decade old is silly. So I don't think they're going to have an issue. You can go up against Meta on other charges, but it's not on being a monopoly. Absolutely not. So I think this thing will brush over and we'll move on.
All right. Well, we got a lot to watch as the week unfolds. Brian, thanks for giving us a preview.
Okay, thanks.